Hello my dear friends, in this video we are going to see about food chain, food web and ecological pyramids. Let's go into the topic, food chain. What is a food chain? Flow of energy in an ecosystem in one-way process. The sequence of organisms through which the energy flow is known as food chain. Yes, so for example, through photosynthesis the plants will prepare the food. So the plants will be eaten by grasshopper. The grasshopper is eaten by the frog. So the frog is eaten by the eagle. So likewise the energy will be flow from one organism to the other organism in a unidirectional fashion, which we call it as food chain, which is being linked one another in a chain like fashion. Important facts: in a food chain, each organism will obtain energy from one at the level below. So the plants called producers because they create their own food through photosynthesis. Animals are the consumers because they cannot create their own food. They must eat plants or other animals to get the energy that they need. Tropic levels in the food chain are producers, consumers, decomposers. Primarily, we have the three topic levels: producers, consumers, decomposers. And again, the consumers are divided into primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, quaternary consumers. For example, primary consumers are rely on producers. Secondary consumers will rely on primary consumers. So, likewise, one will relay their energy source on the other. So, producers, which will be the lowest tropical level. Next, we have the primary consumers, which is herbivores. Secondary consumers are primary carnivores. Tertiary consumers are secondary carnivores. Types of food chains. We have a grazing food chain. The consumers utilizing the plants as their food constitute the grazing food chain. This food chain begins from green plants and the primary consumer is herbivore. So most of the ecosystem in nature follow this type of food chain. Grass is being eaten by grasshopper. Grasshopper is eaten by birds. So next, falcons. Grazing food chain. So this is the picture about the grazing food chain. So initially producers, flowers. Flowers and plants are being eaten by caterpillars, which is a consumer. So these caterpillars are eaten by frog, which is in turn again one more consumer. And frogs are eaten by snake. And the snake is being eaten by owl. So which is one more, a final level of consumer. So this is a grazing food chain starting from the producers are the plants. Detritus food chain. So this type of food chain starts from dead organic matter of decaying animals and plant bodies to microorganisms and then detriting food organisms to the other predators. The food chain depends mainly on the influx of organic matter produced in another system. So the organisms of the food chain include algae, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, insects, nematodes, etc. So detritus food chain, it will start with dead organic matter. So dead organic matter will be fed by bacteria, millipedes and for aerobic respiration also. And finally, which will constitute the inorganic nutrients. Significance of the food chain. The knowledge of food chain will help you in understanding the feeding relationship as well as the interaction between the organism and ecosystem. It also helps in understanding the mechanism of energy flow and circulation of matter in ecosystem. It helps to understand the movement of toxic substances and the problem associated with biological magnification in the ecosystem. Food webs. So what is a food web? Food web is defined as a network of food chains which are interconnected to various trophic levels, so as to form a number of feeding connection among the different organisms of biotic community. It also known as consumer resource system. For example, plants. Plants is being relayed by, so plants will be eaten by mice and rabbit in this picture. And again the rabbit is eaten by snake and eagle. The snake is eaten by eagle. So, and the mice is also eaten by eagle as well as the snake. So, all these organisms are being interconnected to one another in a form of web-like fashion. So, which we call it as food web. Important facts. A node represent an individual species or a group of related species or different stage of single species, which we call it as a node. Link. Connected two nodes. Arrow represent the link and away always go from prey to predator. So in this picture we can able to see this is the node. So node and the link. So this arrow is the link. So we have different nodes. From these nodes many links are there to one organism to another organisms. So the lowest tropical level, which we call it as basal species. So in this picture again, so these flowers are the lowest basal species, lowest tropical level, and the highest tropical level is the last predators. So the highest tropical level, which we call it as top predators. The movement of nutrients is cyclic, but of energy is unidirectional and non-cyclic. Types of food web representations are topological food webs, flow webs, interaction webs. First, topological webs. These food webs simply indicate a feeding relationship, which we call it as topological webs. Flow webs, bioenergetic webs or a flow webs include information on the strength of feeding interactions. Next, interaction web. In interaction, the arrows show how one group influence on the other. So different food webs are soil food web, aquatic food web in forest, food web of grassland, food web in terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. First, soil food web. In this picture, we can able to see the organic matter. This organic matter comes from decomposing of plant shoots and roots. So this organic matter is being fed by fungi, bacteria, earthworms. So and again this fungi, bacteria, all these things will be fed by arthropods, nematodes, protozoa, earthworms. And again this will be fed by again arthropods, nematodes and birds all together will feed. So which this is the soil food web linked one another, and the starting will be the organic matter present in the soil. Aquatic food web. So this is present inside the water, inside the oceans. So photosynthesis. With the help of photosynthesis, the phytoplanktons will prepare the food. So later the phytoplanktons will undergo sedimentation or will be fed by zooplanktons. And again this will be fed by fishes. So fishes and remaining things, fishes will be fed on by different fishes, and next these fishes are fed by different organisms. So this whole together we call it as aquatic food web. Next, food web in the forest. So green plants will be fed by, for example, mouse, rabbit, goat. These will feed on this green plants, and later goat, rabbit and mouse, these will be fed by jackal, wildcat, owl. And next, and the mouse is also fed by snake, and later the snake is fed by this kite. Wildcat is fed by lion. Jackal is also fed by lion, and even the goat is also fed by lion. So this all together linked with one another. This is the food web in forest. Grassland food web. So grass is being eaten by mouse, grasshopper, and later this grasshopper is being eaten by hawk, or grasshopper to lizard, lizard to hawk. And we have the rabbit, rabbit to hawk. And again mouse is being eaten by hawk, mouse to snake and snake to hawk. So food web in terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem, we have the producers, primary consumers which are the herbivores, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers and quaternary consumers. Significance of food web. Food web distinguishes the level of producers and consumers by identifying and defining the importance of animal relationships and food source, beginning with the primary producers such as plants, insects and herbivores. Food webs are important tools in understanding that plants are the foundation of all ecosystem and food chains, sustaining the life by providing the nourishment and oxygen needed for survival and reproduction. So the food web provides stability to the ecosystem. So ecological pyramids. So what are ecological pyramids? Ecological pyramids are nothing but a graphical representation of tropic structure ecosystem, which we call it as ecological pyramids. So the tropic level are the feeding positions in a food chain, such as primary producers, herbivores, primary carnivores, etc. So we have seen priorly this same picture. We have the producers, herbivores, which are the primary consumers, and primary carnivores, which are the secondary consumers. Tertiary consumers are secondary carnivores. Types of ecological pyramids. So there are three types of ecological pyramids are usually be distinguished, namely pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, pyramid of productivity. First, pyramid of numbers. It is a graphical representation of number of individuals per unit area of various tropical levels. Large number of producers tend to form at the base. Lower number of top carnivores occupies the tip. So pyramids of numbers. So plants, we have the huge number of plants, and finally tertiary consumers are in less number. So this we call it as pyramid of numbers, which we are been identifying the pyramid with the numbers. So again this. So we have the producers, herbivores, parasites, hyperparasites. So this is inverted shaped pyramid and this is spindle shaped pyramid. Evaluating the pyramid of numbers, advantages and disadvantages. Simple method of giving an overview. A number of specific species may be too great to measure accurately. So that is the only disadvantage. So which we cannot measure its number accurately. Good for comparing the changes in the ecosystem at different times. This is one advantage. Does not take into account juvenile or immature forms. All organisms are included regardless of their size. That is one more disadvantage. Pyramid of biomass. It is a graphical representation of biomass present per unit area at different tropical levels with producers at the base and carnivores at the top. So biomass are being calculated as mass of each individual into number of individuals at tropic level. So this is the picture of pyramid of biomass. So 1000 cages will be the producers, 100 cages herbivores, 10 cages will be the primary carnivore. So 1 kg will be top carnivore. So likewise we are calculating in a ratio forms. So this is an upright pyramid and this is an inverted pyramid. Evaluating the pyramid of biomass. Coming to the advantages, it overcomes the problem of pyramid of numbers. Disadvantage, only uses the samples for population, so difficult to measure the biomass exactly. So time of year influences the result. Organisms of same size do not necessarily have the same energy content. Pyramid of productivity. Pyramid of productivity is a graphical representation of flow of energy through each tropic level of food chain over a fixed time period. So the input of solar energy may be indicated by adding an extra to the base. So this is the graphical representation of pyramid of productivity. We have sunlight at the base and we have the primary producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. So this is being based on the amount of energy generated from sunlight, a huge amount of energy next to the primary producers, primary consumers, secondary and tertiary consumers. So the energy level will be keep on decreasing from bottom to the top. Coming to the advantages and disadvantages of pyramid of productivity, no inverted pyramids are obtained. So we can see the inverted pyramids in the previous pyramids, but not in this pyramid of productivity. So coming to the disadvantages, it is difficult to cumbersome to collect the energy data. It is difficult to collect the energy data from each and every organism level. So shows the actual energy transfer. Here, problems occurring in assigning a species to a specific tropic level. Cannot be compared to different ecosystem based on the relative energy transfer. Disturbances in the ecosystem. Bioaccumulation. When plants and animals take up the chemical from an environment that do not excrete it, the chemicals build up in the organisms over time to a potential lethal level, which we call it as bioaccumulation. Next, biomagnification refers to the sequence of process that results in higher concentration of the chemicals in the organism at higher level in the food chain. So the concentration of chemicals may not affect the lower level of the food chain, but the top levels take in so much it can disease or death. Next, extinction of species. Due to decreased in the population of various species, the balance of various tropical level is disturbed. For example, if the herbivores are being decreased, the number of herbivores are decreased, so it will affect the primary consumers. If the primary, it will affect the primary carnivores. So if the primary carnivores numbers are decreased, it will affect the secondary carnivores. So due to decrease in the population in the various species, the balance of the various tropical levels is disturbed. As a result, some levels have more accumulation of the species while the others will have less population. So this disturbances will be seen in the ecosystem with the extinction of species and bioaccumulation and biomagnification. These three are the important disturbances in the ecosystem when related to food pyramid and food web and food chains. Okay friends, thank you very much. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel for more biology videos. Thank you.